Throughout history, there have been countless unexplainable stories, events, and moments captured on audio. These horrifying tapes were archived, never to be heard again. Until now. These are the tapes of trepidation. Tape number 33. Rain will surely fall. I've always thought the last class was always the worst. The accumulating fatigue during the morning finally beats our strength and will, pressing us against the desks once more. Today was one of those devoid of meaning days in life. Perhaps because the large gap left by the vanishing self-deprecation cannot be occupied by the passing daily routines and the lies I keep telling myself. The teacher then loudly presents an interesting monologue about the Kantian logic. I've always thought writers and philosophers were such curiously strange beings. Everyone else seems shocked at the simplicity of the monotonous cycle of life to avoid despair. They spend their time creating thousands of reasonable possibilities, parallel worlds, complex interconnections, too difficult for conceptual understanding. Not to mention they try to live multiple realities at the same time, and they find themselves trapped in a whole range of metaphysical ridiculous humanity, as they keep tripping on what they'll never be. One who does not recognize its limits is inevitably doomed to crash into them. And this drowned, snorting classroom seems to confirm what I think. I stare out the window and suddenly, I capture a fluctuation of long-forgotten memories. Without a meaning or direction, I start floating on, and finally drowning in my own subconscious. The wind blows softly, bedding the weeds growing next to the building, and the sky seems like it's covered in ashes. Rain will surely fall. Suddenly, I'm starting to feel sick. My head is spinning. As my vision starts to blur, the shapes around me start to fade into fuzzy spots before my eyes. A sharp discomfort in my stomach begins. My bowels constrict. I hate the last class. With great effort, I raise my right hand while supporting the desk with my left hand, thus preventing me from falling flat on the floor. As everybody else turns their expressionless faces towards the new stimulus before them, the professor makes an indescribable movement with his arm without interrupting his speech, which I interpret as the granted permission to leave the classroom. Assuming that's my ticket out, I quickly rush towards the door. As the pain grows bigger, I close the door behind me, and I head for the bathroom at a brisk pace. I can feel it. Something is bubbling, changing inside of me. The skin on my right hand begins to peel. Quickly, I unbutton my shirt sleeve, and to my surprise, I find out that my whole forearm is skinned. Raw. I stare at the fine network of blood vessels wrapping my now exposed tender flesh. And suddenly, the pain is gone. I can't feel anything anymore. A strong smell of urine and bleach hit me as I enter a white-tiled room. Before reaching the nearest toilet, my shattered body finally succumbs. It begins to convulse and shiver uncontrollably while a flow of thick black liquid begins to flush down my nose. I fall down to my knees, pouring more of that disgusting black liquid from my mouth. Suddenly, a blow cracks open my now exposed skull as I try to realize I'm laying on the floor, surrounded by a pool of my own dark fluids. I attempt staggering back into the class. A whole new shiver rushes through my body. A mass of intestines rips my flesh, tearing my shirt, breaking outside me. Vainly, I try to keep them in place with my left arm. I don't know what's worse, not knowing what's going on, or feeling nothing. All my skin begins to tear apart from my flesh, and then in the blink of an eye, like old parchment, my flesh starts ripping off my bones at every turn. My lower jaw is left behind in a pool of my damned black liquid. My right eye was hanging from the optic nerve, so I quickly tore it off, allowing me to keep the visual stability. Physical pain is only a memory of a non-existent feeling now. With slight effort, I managed to open the classroom door. For a split of a second, my only working eye perceives the faces of my fellow classmates, just an instant before their transformation into faces of pure terror. Their faces distort and twist in indescribable expressions of repulsive terror and inhuman fear as I try to speak, which is impossible now. Inconceivable cries flood the room when their collective perception tells them that this is real. Many fade away on their tables, while others become paralyzed with horror. I know I may look as terrible as hammered shit, but the fact is that mentally I'm still myself. I slowly creep toward the teacher's desk, but he already lies on the floor, like a torn down statue with his mouth twisted and eyes wide open, frozen in terror. Behind me, I can only hear howling lunatics echo the fading screams of those who escaped in the distance, reverberating through the wide, empty corridors. My body no longer has the supporting elements and enough energy that it would normally have. I can't keep myself on my feet anymore, and I fall forward, severing my raw, skinned head with the edge of the teacher's desk. My head lies on it while I stare out the window. And suddenly, I capture a fluctuation of long-forgotten memories. I am just consciousness. I'm just insensitive material. I can see the mountains around the horizon, a flock flying away in the distance. The wind blows softly, bending the weeds growing next to the building, and the sky seems like it's covered in ash. Rain will surely fall. This has been tape number 33, Rain Will Surely Fall, by the Tapes of Trepidation Horror Narration Podcast. Rain Will Surely Fall was written by NwChryst and was originally posted on the Creepypasta Wiki. Narration, production, and sound design for this episode was by TJ Hodder. Credit for the music for this episode can be found in the show notes. The Tapes of Trepidation theme was written by the incredible J.M. Scherf. All logos, banners, overlays, and graphic design work was provided by the talented Jason Reese from Jaybird Digital Arts. If you have a story you would like to submit, or a question regarding the show, please contact us at tapesoftrepidation@gmail.com. Support the show by subscribing and leaving a rating on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, your favorite podcatcher, or a like on YouTube. Be sure to tell your friends. Word of mouth is extremely helpful to a new podcast like this one. Check us out on social media through the link tree in the show notes. We have Facebook, Instagram, and Discord. We also have a new subreddit in which you can submit stories, discuss the show, and I may even host a AMA there once in a while. If you'd like to support the show, a little more, consider joining the Tapes of Trepidation Patreon, where for as little as $5 a month, you can gain access to monthly bonus short story narrations, the weekly behind-the-scenes podcast within the archive, and more. Come, join us, and become trapped within the archive. Just like my current patrons, Kelly Sisson, Neil Skarupa from Neurotic Voice, Doozer Pindan, Ronan Komori, Eric Phones, and Patrick Stewart. Thank you all so much for the support. All content used on Tapes of Trepidation is either original, used with permission, or is available on your Creative Commons share-alike license. All rights reserved unless otherwise stated. This podcast and its content may not be redistributed or rebroadcasted without the express written consent of Tapes of Trepidation and the story's author. Thank you so much for listening.